We've been learning how to solve for the roots or the x-intercept of quadratics. We learned to solve by factoring, and when we did that, it had to be equal to 0. We learned to solve by square root, and that was when there was no x term. But people, mathematicians that spent a lot of time and thought doing the research, discovered that there's a formula that works every time. Sometimes problems aren't set up easily for those other methods. They either can't be factored or they can't be done by square root because there's a middle term. Quadratic formula will work every time on every quadratic. We don't always want to use it because it's kind of clunky, and sometimes factoring or square root is faster and easier. So just like factoring, it must be set equal to 0 before you identify the pieces, the coefficients, the A, B, C. A is the coefficient of the x squared. B is the coefficient of the x. C is the constant. These are numbers. All these, A, B, and C, are numbers. The only thing you substitute for A, B, and C in the formula is numbers. Then you just do the math and simplify. So all we're doing is substituting into a formula and doing the math, simplifying. Here's the quadratic formula. It says you take the opposite of b, negative b and opposite of b are the same thing. You do plus or minus. Because of the square root, you have both a positive and a negative answer. B squared minus 4ac, then you divide the whole thing by 2a. And just for your memory's sake, so that you can remember this and not have to look it up every time, there are many ways you can sing this. We can sing it to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That also works with Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Or if you just really want to be a pop singer and be Adele, you can sing Roll It in the Deep. X is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So lots of ways to sing this. Let's look at the first one. The first one, is it set equal to 0? Yes, it's ready for us. It's set equal to 0. Now I can identify A, B, and C. I told you A, B, and C are numbers. I don't see a number in front of the x squared term, so A must be that imaginary 1. B is 3. Be careful here because the minus is attached, making C negative 5. So our formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So let's plug in with what we know. Negative b is 3. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root b squared. Please put b in parentheses before you square it, because when it's negative, it'll really make a difference. Minus 4ac, and then you divide it by 2a. Ta-da! All I did was identify A, B, and C, plug them into the formula. Now here we're going to simplify. Please don't put this whole thing in your calculator, because then you'll get an approximate answer. You'll have to round the decimal, which sometimes you want to do in a real life scenario to get an idea of what you're talking about. But if we're building something, we sure don't want to lose accuracy. So let's bring down our negative 3 plus or minus the square root. What's in the bottom? 2 times 1 is 2. Now let's just do the math. Let's say that you're not good at doing the math in your head. You can put it in your calculator, but please only put the part under the radical. Do not put this radical in your calculator. Just put the part under the radical, hit the calculator, hit enter, you get 29. 29 is not a perfect square, and it's a prime number, so this can't be simplified. Here's your answer. You have 2 roots, negative 3 plus square root of 29 over 2, and negative 3 minus square root of 29 over 2. But instead of writing it out twice, we just put our plus minus symbol. Let's look at example 2. Example 2 is also already set equal to 0, which is really nice. It saves us some trouble, but always check first. A, B, and C. A is 3. Be careful here because B is negative 2 and C is negative 3. Let's plug it into our formula. X equals negative B. Oh, but B's already negative. If you want to write negative, negative, go for it. But hopefully we're big brain mathematicians, and we know that negative negative is positive. We can just put positive. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. Did you notice how I put b in parentheses? Minus 4ac all over 2a. Let's do some good math here. 2 plus or minus the square root of something over 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So let's do the math. Either put that in your calculator or do it in your head. Square root of 40. 40 is not a perfect square. Let's come over here and do a little side math. What can I split 40 into? How about 4 times 10? So 4 is a perfect square. Square root of 4 is 2. I can't simplify 10. Guys, if you got this far, you did great math. If you get this far, you've done even better because you've simplified it, but there is one more step. We can simplify this even further. So, for some strange reason, Miss Jones does it this way. Square root of 10 is like the x. We're going to ignore him. He's like a variable. You cannot simplify under the radical. So, we're just going to, I just draw a little heart. I don't know why. I just saw a heart one day and did that. We're looking at these three in the heart. Do they have a GCF? Why, yes, they can all be divided by 2. So let's do that. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Leave your square root of 10. He doesn't change. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So this is your fully simplified answer that we get all the full points. You don't have to do that very often, but this is how you would fully simplify. Let's look at example 3. Example 3 is not solved to 0. It's not set equal to 0. Do not select your A, B, and C until you have set it equal to 0. You will get the wrong answer. So what do I need to do? I need to subtract the 5. I can't really subtract it because it has no like terms, so I really just moved it, right? Now A, B, and C. A is 2. B is negative 9. Don't miss that negative. C is negative 5 because I had to minus the 5 to bring it over here. Do you see how if you didn't set it equal to 0, you would get the wrong answer because you would have a positive 5 there. So let's plug it in. X equals negative B. Once again, we already have a negative. Negative negative is positive. Plus or minus the square root of b squared with the b in parentheses. Minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, 9 plus or minus the square root of, if you did all that in the calculator or in your head, you'd get 121. 2 times 2 is 4. This is a beautiful problem because 121 is a perfect square. So I can go, let me do this for you. 9 plus 11 over 4, because I've got the plus answer, and 9 minus 11 over 4, because I have the minus answer. Remember, I have to do both the positive and negative square root. Square root of 121 is positive 11 and negative 11. All right. 9 plus 11 is 20, divided by 4 is 5, and 9 minus 11 is negative 2, divided by 4 gets negative 1/2. Those are your two roots. Sometimes you'll get a nice pretty answer like this, other times you'll get ugly ones like 1 and 2. I apologize for calling you ugly. All right, let's look at number 4. Is it set equal to 0? Yes, hallelujah. A is what? 1. When there's no do not put an X there. These have to be numbers. A is 1. B is also 1. C is negative 20. So let's plug it in. X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 AC all over 2A. All right, negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 181. Okay. Oh, that's nice and pretty. That's a perfect square. So, what do I have? Negative 1 plus 9 over 2 and negative 1 minus 9 over 2. 9 minus 1 is 8 is just 4. Negative 10 down to the negative 5. There's your two answers. So there's your quadratic formula.